What's going on, everybody? It is Joe. Welcome to the channel today. The markets are booming. Donald Trump has paused tariffs for 90 days and the markets are going crazy. Things are up 8%. Things are up 15%. Things are just skyrocketing. Everything's in the green. Although I still believe we are down for the week. We'll look at those numbers in a sec. Today has been a great day for crypto. It's been a great day for the stock market, and we're going to touch on all of that. And then we're also going to go over XRP and some big news that happened yesterday in regard to XRP, and we're going to break that down and show what it could mean for XRP and where I think the sky is the limit for XRP and where we could go. So stay tuned through the end. We're going to talk about the news today. We're going to talk about the news yesterday, and we're going to go over why I think we are just beginning to start this bull run. We are so close, you guys. Hang in there. We've been hanging in there through the highs, through the lows. We have seen everything over the last month or two. Really, since President Trump went into office, we've had a little bit of everything. We've had tariffs, we've had who knows what, but prices have been going high, they've been going low, we've been riding the waves, we've been waiting for this bull run to happen. So for everyone that stayed patient, I do believe we are getting closer and closer to being able to take off and start that bull run that we all expected. But with that being said, let's dive into the big news of the day, and that is, well, first of all, this was kind of wild. Before he even announced the tariff pause, we had the president telling us this is a great time to buy DJT. Trump literally told us to buy right before he announced the 90-day tariff pause. Bitcoin is up over 5% since then. What a legendary financial advisor. Imagine that. The president of the United States is about to announce something that's going to alter the markets, and before he has that announcement, he's kind enough to let everyone know, hey, now would be a great time to buy. Can we trust him with that advice? I mean, he's told us to buy crypto before. His sons have told us to buy crypto quite often, and that doesn't always mean something good is happening. But here, this was pretty convenient. He says this shortly after he announces the tariff pause. Anyone who hopped on this post made a decent amount of money today buying when he told us to. So yeah, kind of crazy having the president of the United States telling us to buy and then having that happen. And so President Trump, this is what the announcement was. President Trump is slapping a massive 125% tariff hike on China while granting a 90-day tariff break to all other countries. Kaboom. So we're still in that tariff war with China, seeing who's going to cave first. Trump does not want the U.S. to be taken advantage of from China any longer, so he's kind of playing chicken with them. And so I am kind of surprised to see things doing as well as they are, despite tariffs on China going up and being at 125%, that ongoing war. But with every other country, there's a 90-day pause, which is big for small businesses. It's big for large businesses. So to see that, very encouraging. I do think they will settle on something. I'm not sure tariffs will be completely gone. So I would stay tuned, stay up to date on that, because I don't think it's going to be completely gone. I think they're going to settle on something, whether that's like the 10% flat tariff rate like he had mentioned at one point or what it is. It's going to be curious to follow that to see what ends up happening. But for the short term, we have 90 days for the U.S. and all these other countries to figure out what's going to happen, to come to some sort of agreement. And there's going to be a lot of negotiations going on. But for the most part, this is huge for those small businesses. They have time to come up with a plan. They have time to prep. They have time to make that money back. It's good for big businesses. People are going to come up with a plan that's going to protect them. And I think things are going to work out in the end, but it's going to be really curious to see what happens with China and see if they cave or if Trump caves or what ends up happening. So based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the United States of America to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lower reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So all these other countries, no one retaliated like China. Everyone kind of sat back and just let things happen. Trump's rewarding that, it sounds like, and saying, hey, these tariffs, we're going to take them away, 90-day pause while we figure everything out. There's going to be negotiations ongoing, I'm sure. But China was retaliating. There was this trade war, and if you know President Trump, he's not going to back down from a country. He's not going to want to show signs of weakness, and so he is fighting back and raising those tariffs to 125%. Kind of wild. China supplies a ton of product, so we're going to see what happens there. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be staying tuned to that, but the big news, all the other countries, 90-day pause, and the markets are booming. Let's take a look at the markets a second. Here's the crypto bubbles, all green. Look at that. That is so great to see. Flare up 44%, Hype 23%, Shiba 13%, Aave 12.5%, so ADA 12, Cake 14, Pepe 15, Sui 12.5, Link 15, so Litecoin 11, HBAR 13. So we're seeing some of these coins doing quite well. As you can see here as well, you have all these coins in the green. Bitcoin over the last 24 hours, over the last week, we are still red. I mentioned that at the beginning of the video, but yeah, we are still red overall in the last week. But to see these numbers for today, we are going higher. Bitcoin 7%, Ethereum 12, XRP 11, Solana 12, Binance 4.5, Dogecoin 12, Cardano 12, Chainlink 15. So seeing those numbers, very encouraging. Ethereum, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on Ethereum. I'd love to hear your comments below. But I feel like the last time Bitcoin was where it was the other day, like 77, 78,000, Ethereum was up at like $3,000. Ethereum's at 1,600. It was at 1,400 the other day. Like 1,600 is pretty low for Ethereum. We were seeing those 22 to 2,500 for a while, I feel like, when Bitcoin was around 82 to 85. And now Ethereum's still fairly low, even though it's up 12%. And like some of these other coins, XRP's been doing very well lately. Solana's been doing very well. Bitcoin. But then you have Ethereum that's kind of just not doing a whole lot. And like, if you've been a holder of Ethereum, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you still holding out? Have you lost hope? Did you sell and get into other coins? Give your thoughts below. I'm very curious to hear. Okay, and now I want to get into some big XRP news that happened the other day. Before you do, if you do like the content, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. It would greatly help out the channel. And then, as always, comment below, as I'd love to interact with you guys. So the big news for XRP that I want to go over is Ripple is acquiring prime brokerage Hidden Road for $1.25 billion, marking the largest deal ever for the digital asset company and one of the biggest in the history of the cryptocurrency industry. This is massive. Trillions of dollars come through Hidden Road, this brokerage, and Ripple just acquired them for $1.25 billion. It's contingent on a few things, this case officially ending, so we're going to probably have to wait a month or two to get that official word from the SEC that there is no more case. It is over. There is no going back, and it's done. And then once that happens, I believe this acquisition will be official, and then I'm going to break down with you guys shortly what that's going to look like. But first, we have Garlinghouse announcing that news as well. Here's what he had to say. Today, Ripple announced the acquisition of Hidden Road for $1.25 billion, one of the largest deals ever in the crypto space. But the price tag isn't what's most important. It's that this deal marks a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for crypto to access the largest and most trusted traditional markets, and vice versa. Prime brokers, along with other key functions historically managed by banks for the most part, like Hidden Road, have proven themselves as the trusted intermediary for the largest hedge funds, market makers, OTC desks, quant traders, and more. Ripple has been a customer of Hidden Road for years, and we know their breadth of expertise firsthand, clearing $3 trillion, like I mentioned earlier, annually for 300 plus of the top financial institutions globally. This is the capital and activity that will tap into XRP and the XRP ledger's bread and butter, instant, efficient, and scalable and low-cost movement of value. Instead of waiting around 24 hours to settle trades through fiat rails, Hidden Road will be using XRPL for clearing a portion of trades and most consequentially using RLUSD as collateral across its prime brokerage services, including cross-asset, crypto, and traditional instrument trades. With this deal and the backing of Ripple's significant balance sheet, Hidden Road will exponentially expand its capacity to service its pipeline and become the largest non-bank prime broker globally. Ripple and Hidden Road combined are a generational leap forward, ready to truly bring the worlds of traditional and decentralized finance together. So this is massive news for Ripple, for XRP, for XRPL, to this acquisition to bring the worlds of traditional and decentralized finance together, to have trillions of dollars potentially coming onto the XRPL is going to do massive things for XRP because people are going to need XRP for these transactions. Going further, we have the Ripple CTO, David Schwartz. Ripple's acquisition of Hidden Road is a defining moment for the XRP ledger and XRP. The prime broker clears upwards of $10 billion and processes over 50 million transactions a day on various traditional rails, waiting up to 24 hours for those transactions to settle. Now imagine even a portion of that activity on the XRP ledger, and that's exactly what Hidden Road plans on doing, not to mention future uses of collateral and real-world asset tokenization on the XRPL. You can tell how excited Ripple's CEO and CTO are about this acquisition. There are big things coming for XRP. There are big things coming for Ripple, and the stage is being set behind the scenes. And I think we are just getting started with XRP, you guys. There is so much to be positive about that's coming out, what seems daily, weekly, about either whether it's Ripple, RLUSD, XRP. There's just good news going on everywhere, and the stage is being set. The things are getting put in place for Ripple to just grow exponentially once all this regulation is clear, once we figure out what the government's going to do with crypto and all that sort of stuff. I think when we do get that bull market finally, I think XRP is going to be one of the coins leading the way because it's been held back for so long, and now we're going to have that clarity, now we're going to have that utility, and it's just going to shoot up. So I found this interesting text thread that I wanted to bring you guys and go over. That's kind of going to explain a little bit about this Hidden Road acquisition. So let's take a look here. Ripple just dropped $1.25 billion to buy Hidden Road, a prime brokerage that moves $3 trillion annually. But what should XRP hold, but why should XRP holders care? Because it's about to change everything for XRP and RLUSD. Let's talk about why. So, Hidden Road serves 300 plus institutional clients who process $10 billion in trades daily. And now they'll be settling those trades on the XRP ledger. Think about that. Massive financial institutions using XRPL for what it was built to do. What happens when just a fraction of that 10 billion daily volume starts settling through XRP? Demand's going to skyrocket. These aren't retail traders. These are hedge funds and market makers who need XRP to power their operations, and they'll be buying lots of it. Hidden Road will be integrating RLUSD as collateral across all its prime brokerage products. This makes it the first stablecoin enabling cross-margining between digital assets and the traditional markets. So we've talked about XRP and how it's going to benefit that. We've talked about RLUSD. We've talked about the XRP ledger. This acquisition is going to help everything that Ripple does, and it's going to bring everything together, and that gets me super, super excited. This acquisition addresses fears of risk, inefficiency, and regulatory problems, XRP for fast settlement, RLUSD for stable collateral, and Ripple's 60 plus licenses for compliance. As regulations clarify and institutional interest grows, Ripple now offers an end-to-end solution from trade execution to financing to settlement, all powered by XRP and RLUSD within the same ecosystem. With the XRP ledger's instant settlement compared to traditional markets operating on 24-hour clocks, this is a complete transformation of how institutions will handle post-trade operations. By acquiring an established prime broker with proven relationships, Ripple just removed that barrier. These clients already trust Hidden Road with billions. Now they'll trust XRP too. Using XRPL cuts settlement costs dramatically. Hidden Road can pass these savings to clients, making their services more competitive. Who turns down money at institutional scale? So it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be faster. XRP's thrived in that, so now that they can bring these to these hedge funds, to these people, all that money is going to flow in. Who's going to say no to quicker and cheaper transactions? And now Hidden Road can pass these savings on to customers, making them even more competitive in that space. Hidden Road opens new use cases, XRP for cross-border settlement, RLUSD for hedging and liquidity management, and each new use case expands the market and drives more demand. When XRP and RLUSD start moving, the result is increased liquidity, reduced volatility, and more stable prices. These are the exact conditions that attract more institutions to the ecosystem. Think about it. If you're an institution that needs to move value globally, you now have a choice. Use old banking rails that take days and cost a fortune, or use Ripple's ecosystem with XRP and RLUSD that settles instantly for pennies. I don't know about you. Which one would you choose? I don't know. It seems like a pretty obvious choice to me. Hidden Road's reputation and relationships open doors to partnerships that were previously closed to crypto firms. I can't overstate how significant this is. Ripple is positioning XRP and RLUSD at the crossroads where TradeFi and DeFi meet. Hidden Road is processing more money daily than many blockchains handle in months. And now all that volume is potentially moving onto XRPL infrastructure. Ripple is putting real money where their mouth is, $1.25 billion worth. This massive commitment sends a signal about their confidence in XRP, RLUSD as core assets in global finance. That confidence translates to investor trust. So this is another thing that I've been talking about in my videos, is that once this starts to happen, these institutions, these companies are going to start to have confidence in XRP and RLUSD. And once you have confidence in that, once you have that regulatory clarity, now you can start building. Now you can bring retail in. Now everything can start happening that everyone's thought was going to happen. All it takes is that company to have that confidence in XRP and RLUSD. And in order to have that confidence, you needed that regulation clarity. And now we finally are getting that, and now we're finally even getting more of that. So super encouraging to see, and we are just getting started. I believe this is just the beginning of that road. Each transaction on XRPL requires XRP. Each client using Hidden Road services needs RLUSD for collateral. Simply supply and demand. As usage grows, so does the need for both assets. Skeptics have long said XRP would never see real institutional use. Well, now Ripple literally owns a pipeline that moves $3 trillion a year, and it's about to be plugged directly into XRPL. Ripple's acquisition of Hidden Road is a fundamental shift in XRP and RLUSD's position in global finance. Increased utility, institutional demand, and improved liquidity create the perfect storm for long-term value growth. This is starting to align with my predictions for XRP this year. I didn't know when it would happen. I didn't know how exactly what would happen. But this is aligning. It's creating the perfect storm for that long-term value growth. That increased utility, institutional demand, and improved liquidity was going to need to happen. And it wasn't going to happen until we had that regulation clarity. SEC case ended. We're starting to see some clarity with crypto within the United States coming from President Trump. We're starting to see how things are going to work out. We still don't know for sure, but we're starting to take those steps forward. And this is a big step in that direction. And with that happening, the sky's the limit for XRP in my mind. I had predicted in the next few months that $5 to $8 range, potentially by the end of the year, maybe that $8 to $10 range. But that $5 to $8 range is starting to become more realistic in my mind. I think we are seeing that perfect storm, like this says, where that $5 to $8 is possible if some of these things start to happen. Imagine that SEC case officially ends, we get that clarity in a month or two, and then all these things start to happen, and we see all that money flowing onto the XRP ledger for RLUSD, for XRP, and we see all these institutions starting to have that confidence in XRP. I think it's going to take off, and that's not even to mention what could happen within the government with XRP, whether there's a strategic stockpile or whatever it may be with XRP. ETFs too, there's more good news with ETFs coming. We might touch on some of that today as well. But there's just other good news as well. On top of all this institutional demand and increased utility that we're going to see, like, there's good news coming, and that $5 to $8 is very realistic in my mind. We're trading at $2 right now, so we have a long way to go until that happens. But I feel like once that bull run kicks off, once we start seeing the institutional demand coming, we're just going to take off. But we're going to have to be patient. I don't know when that's going to happen. It could take a while yet. but we are seeing those steps taking place, and yesterday's news was a huge step in that direction. Speaking of ETFs, we did have the XRP ETF XXRP, which is a 2x long daily. It recorded 5 million in trading volume on its first day. That just got launched yesterday. That was big news for XRP. So as you can see here, 2x long daily XRP ETF just got announced, and we had 5 billion. So we're gonna see what that looks like. We're still waiting for that spot XRP ETF to come out, but to see an XRP 2x long daily ETF come out, very encouraging, a step in the right direction, something to keep your eye on. I wanted to touch on that quick. We're still waiting for bigger news when it comes to ETFs, but that is another big step in the right direction. So big news today in the stock market, big news today coming from Trump. Tariffs are paused 90 days. We know how volatile the stock market is, how volatile the crypto market is to these tariff announcements. Things shot up today. We are seeing anywhere from 5 to 15% increases so far today with that 90-day pause on tariffs. I still think there's more to figure out. And within these next 90 days, as we get more clarity, as we see these negotiations happening, as we see that trade war with China settle in, I think we're going to see some more movement. We're going to see some more clarity. Companies are going to start to know what to expect, and we're going to see things kind of level off and create those new floors for when this news happens again. And then once this 90 days happens, we're going to see like where we are at that point. But I feel like that foundation is going to be in place for us to just keep going up and to start that bull run. So give me your thoughts below. Were you someone that held? Did you get nervous at all over the past week with some of these price drops? I know I was just holding. I was trying not to look at the market daily. I was trying to avoid looking at the numbers, because when that does, anxiety kicks in, depression kicks in. It's never good seeing all these big red numbers. It's never good seeing balances dropping like crazy. So avoided looking at that. Just stayed firm in my plan with that dollar cost averaging, looking at that big picture. But curious to hear your thoughts. Did you buy more? Did you stop buying? Did you sell? Did you see President Trump's post this morning saying, hey, now would be a good time to buy, and did you buy more? I'd love to get your thoughts below. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Again, if you like the content today, hit that like button, hit that subscribe to see more, comment below, and until then, I will see you guys next time. Thank you.